How was it for you so far? Or is
Day one was great. You get the toughest critics in town, man.
yeah?
Yeah.
How
My,
hard? Was
my,
there
my
like
job, my job today is going to be how to untoughen them,
yeah?
the softer side of creative effectiveness.
Yeah. Are they very, very critical?
Well, because it's so data oriented
Yeah.
and less subjective.
Okay. And
That
is the data always true?
I have no idea. At the end of the day, like I said to them, and I would love to obviously hear about your jury, but what I said to them is what we say in creative effectiveness to me is what we're saying about the value of the industry.
Yeah. So do you go by gut feeling?
No, you got to go.
No. Or do you really need
I
to see
like
the
to
facts?
go. I always say, listen, if we're going to put this hat on to say, oh my God, is the data true? Oh my God, they're using percentages, so I don't believe them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what good that does. At the end of the day, you've got to go into it and say,
Yeah.
the case studies that all these agencies are putting in with their clients who are providing the data is true. We just have to make that assumption.
Yeah. And do you see a shift throughout the years? Are there different trends or
No, I've done.
different?
I'm
I don't
a
know what.
I'm a planner by trade, and I run an agency, so nobody ever lets me judge creative
Okay.
categories, which really bothers me. So I always judge creative effectiveness. It's always the same. But tell me about design.
We already had day one, and we looked at the physical work, which is, I think that is really, really a treat because I think everything is digital, and now to actually touch something is really almost
We were so
unique.
jealous.
Yeah.
We were so jealous watching all of you walk
Yeah.
around and actually
Yeah.
like feel and touch things.
Feeling
Yeah.
design, and then you really, really see the craftsmanship into the work. And there is work from all over the world, and that I think is really, I think that's also very, very strong when you can you see work from I don't know, from China, from Singapore, it's really, really, really inspiring. And also the jury is really from everywhere. So everybody has their own point of view and the work means different things. But I think in the end, like good work or good design, it doesn't matter where you come from. It's like there's an understanding. Like craft, the making of, that quality work you can
I think
you
design
understand.
is universal language, right? Because it needs no other language. Like you look at it and you can feel it.
Exactly. And I mean, most people say, oh, globalization, everything is starting to look the same because we're all oversharing. But really, if you look in essence and in the details, there are differences. It's not, even global brands make differences for every country.
That's funny you mentioned China. I was at dinner last night. I was talking to our jury and saying, they said, what are you going to bring up as themes today? Because we're discussing today, we're debating today. And I said, one of them I'm going to bring up is China. I feel like it's a market because nobody understands it. It doesn't do well as a market in the jury room. So I'm going to get our jury to pay special attention to China today because there were entries.
No, that's good. That's
Right?
good. Also, of course, we were looking, for example, at a beautiful, beautiful publication, and it was about calligraphy. And then you need the help also of other jury members to ask, what is this like? Is this good? Like, what is the quality of the calligraphy, the typography? Because there's no way you can understand everything from everywhere. So I think also having that diverse jury really, really helps in looking at all different aspects of the work.
And I obviously have a particularly sort of personal connection to this issue because I also find that work from India tends to get left out because people don't understand the nuance of the brilliance of that piece of work. Anyway, so it was it was great yesterday, and I'm looking forward to our discussion and debate. It's also funny, right? Because all of us in this industry always say our attention span is so.
I know.
And then to be in a room where you're like, yeah.
It's funny
it's
you
good
say
discipline.
Last night I said, wow, I haven't been in a room focused on one thing the whole day. Like, I thought, I need to do this more often, like that you are only looking at the work. You're not distracted by anything else, no mail, no, meetings. And
That's so. I was saying also in our jury to say, I've never been in a room for 8 hours with fellow members and be quiet. Like, this has never happened.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Did you actually yesterday feel like you were hungering for something that you didn't see and you wish, oh my God, there was a little more of this form of design or that form of design?
No, actually, it was a bit the other way around. I was like, wow, there's designers there with a conscience. It wasn't only something looked good, but it was also meaningful. I mean, more than, I'm not saying that design is superficial, and of course there was a really beautiful work for all sorts of industries, but there were some pieces that really stood out that conveyed a message and a humanitarian message, but done in a really, I felt it was very poetic and not in a very tacky, like sometimes there's messages that you think, oh, it becomes so over the top that it's unbelievable. And I think there was one particular piece, and I'm not going to name it here, that you just felt that the whole room was quiet. Like it just, you needed a minute for it to land. And then there was another piece that technically I thought was, I was so impressed. Like, how did you make that? That you knew that the amount of work in terms of the technology behind it it took hours and hours, and that was, you knew that it was an extra mile from the team, like that designed this. And for you?
I'd say, I think the diversity of work was amazing, in terms of, we had pieces that were about an idea that's been around for 10 years, which I really appreciate, because I think the short-termism that we're all we're living with right now, is exasperating for me. So I loved that there was things in there that had stood the test of time. There was an idea that was coming back year after year. It was building equity for a brand, and it was proving the effectiveness of it. So I loved that bit. There were ideas that were sort of one-off ideas, and there were ideas where you really felt like a brand that was doing another piece, building on it.
Yeah.
So there was that real diversity from a brand perspective. But I think if I was hungering for anything, it'd go back to my point of globality. Somehow the work feels more dominated by Western markets. And I'm really keen today to get into that discussion to say, like, are we not even, we don't understand some of the other work, so therefore it doesn't even show up at the top. Therefore those markets submit less. Do you know, like...
Yeah, I understand.
Like China and India, the biggest countries in the world, with a bigger consumer base. And why are there only 3 pieces of whatever? I don't remember the number, but there's like a fraction of the work from those markets. Why?
No, it's we had a similar discussion also last night. Designers were always supposed to look everywhere, but we are really still one-sided and looking more to the West as opposed to globally. And I think this is, I find it a shame. I think that it's really a one-sided way of seeing things.
It totally is. And again, for me personally, I can speak obviously for China or for a Latin American market, but I can, because of my own Indian heritage, And I'm like, wait, how is that piece not being celebrated at a global stage when nobody understands it? If we don't discuss work from those markets in a forced way,
Yeah.
then how will we ever learn what the nuance of brilliance is? Brilliance is always in the seams, right? It's never full frontal.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to pick a piece of work from China. I'm going to stick with my theme here.
Yeah.
It was for Heinz, and it was it was based on such a local insight, and that's what I loved about it. Is in China, people make eggs with tomatoes. Like a tomato scrambled egg is it's a customary thing.
Okay.
But when you make a tomato scrambled egg, you're using real tomatoes, and real tomatoes are hard and it takes longer. And so they said, okay, how do we capitalize on that behavior and have people use Heinz ketchup
Yeah.
instead of, and the way they went about doing it. So great insight, like finding, we talk about data and being true to behavior. Like I felt like, okay, there was a real behavioral insight. And then they used eggs. They actually
Actual
used
eggs?
eggs as a medium
Yeah.
and had a message on eggs to get people to use Heinz tomato ketchup. So I thought that was really simple and brilliant, and it worked in the marketplace. And I saw the difference in the case studies, like Chinese case studies and some of the other slicker case.
Yeah.
So it's also like the slicker case studies, but that's the business we're in.
Yeah.
Stimulus response. So, but that's what I thought was a really local insight,
Yeah.
brilliant use of
Nice idea. Now I want
very
to see it.
by the way, in creative effectiveness, I always like to say it's creative thinking effectiveness
Yeah.
versus, that was real creative
Yeah.
thinking. Like,
I think that there was one piece that really, I think, stood out for me technically, and that was for Spotify, and that was, I think, designed by the internal team, and they made a whole music video using Excel. And that was coded, and it was to convince, of course, all their clients that they could use the medium. To make that, I think, is like to use Excel and code it. It's not a 1 second. This went on and on.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I know the idea.
I mean, you've seen this?
yeah, I've seen the idea.
I think I was like, I mean, even before the judging started, and we were just talking among the jury, I was like, did you see that piece? Like, are they completely insane to do this? And I thought, wow, you go the extra mile. I don't know. I mean, of course, everything is hopefully effective. I don't know how effective, but the fact that the team has an idea and goes for it and invests, I'm sure they invested their personal time in this.
Of course, that's the only way.
To do this, I think, wow, yeah, this is great. I mean, I would love to work with a team like that. With that technical knowledge, I think that's
I know that work.
brilliant.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And the other thing is, it also says about being smart about how we use tools. Because I think that's becoming more and more important, like not use the tools the same way everyone does. And with that, you can get unexpected results. And because there's new tools every day, every 5 minutes we're on the news and it's like, oh, you can use this and you can make that. So keeping up to date and being smart about what you use, I think is something I think for all designers to learn from.
That's great.
And I guess we're going to move to our final question. What's this even all about? What's the meaning of life? No, like what does the one show, what does being here judging it, what does winning it mean, what does the Long Club for Creativity mean in the grand scheme of things? Is it just a gold trinket to sit in front of you there? Or?
Oh my God. It's interesting that we're sitting here and discussing the work, but the work represents something much bigger than the medals that they're going to get, and it represents creativity. And I just think it like, my personal belief, and I'm a delusional optimist about creativity, I don't care what kind of technology is going to come in. And there's always going to be new technology, by the way, always. And that's brilliant, because creativity, the human imagination, needs a co-pilot to be. And you said, you're like, how did they make it?
Yeah.
So the human imagination, when it's unfettered to be able to imagine anything, because the tools that we have with data technology and whatever, I don't even know what's going to be next. Then the potential to make that that imagination reality, to me, is just magical. And I just want to say that what the world needs more than ever before is creative thinking, because there are more problems in the world today than there were 3 years ago, than there were 5 years ago, and there were 10 years ago. And technology alone is not going to solve it. Data alone is not going to solve it. It is going to be creative thinking with all those tools.
I think also being here is actually being present here, and really, you really feel like it is also for the love of the work. I don't think you choose this path. I don't think you choose the path of a designer because you thought, oh, this is going to be the easy way. Half the jury I talked to, they had to convince their family to even go into design. So you also, I mean, it's not the meaning of life, but I think it's really a place where you can really see the love for the work that we do. And it's an occasion also to stand back and celebrate it, because most of the times I think I think designers are very humble in a way. They don't like to stand up out there. And I think this is a moment also to stop and look at what has been achieved so far.
Can I just say why I love designers? I have no idea how you can visualize things in your head. I mean, by the way, to me, it's like a pure form of art, and then you figure out the commercial intersection of that in our world, I think is magic. It's pure magic. And in a world that's becoming more and more shit and crap, we need great things to look at and feel.